Since Season of the Lost launched, we got a few new seasonal mods, and now using those seasonal mods, we can improve or change up some of our most used builds for endgame content. And guys, one of those builds we're going to be going over today is the Warlock Well of Radiance build. So this is your updated build for this subclass in Season 15. Now we'll go over some of the new seasonal mods and the current meta weapons for this season that are the best to use with this build, as well as breaking down all the mods and all that stuff. But I will go through a full loadout optimization setup so you can make those loadout adjustments to suit either your playstyle or to make those slight changes so the build is suitable regardless of the activity you're doing. But there are a few different mods you can use with this build with a load of different combinations, but I'll go through those best ones so that you can make this build effective in Master and Grandmaster Nightfalls coming up soon. Now guys, without any further delay, rate, comment, sub, share, and of course, intro. Now as always, before we start, this is build number 6 to the new series, so if you like these and you want to see more, you can view that full playlist down below for all the previous and upcoming builds. And if you want to keep up to date with all the latest builds, news and guides, then feel free to join our growing Discord server where you can join in and be part of the community and basically just have a good time with each other and find yourself some good friends to play with. So this is your Warlock's Middle Tree Well of Radiance build. And this is pretty straightforward. You'll use this in any activity really, but ideally you'll use this build in harder activities with a well coordinated team to be the most effective. This is more of a support build and one of many support builds, so you will be helping your allies out, but you will also be benefiting yourself with some good boss DPS as well, so you're not always relying on your team to be alive to deal all the DPS to champions and bosses. So I did use this build in both a Legend Lost Sector and a Master Nightfall, whilst around 30 under the recommended power, and I have to say, it did perform pretty well. A quick example of this build in action is this Overload champion being stunned by our solar melee, weakening that champion whilst refunding our melee ability and allowing us to insta-kill that champion with one rocket. So you can use this build with Withering Heat to weaken enemies with solar abilities, or you can use it with Particle Deconstruction to weaken them using fusion rifles, and we'll go over that loadout optimization now to see what your best options are in all types of activities. So with the loadout, there are multiple options you can use, and you should adjust it to each activity you're doing, so it should never really be the same. But for your kinetic slot in Season 15, you'll want either a bow for Overload champions, an auto rifle for anti-barriers, or a pulse rifle for unstoppables. Keep all of these options open so you have more flexibility when it comes to making a loadout for that activity that you're playing. But for the energy, you want either an Eriana's Vow, as it comes with anti-barrier rounds, and it's a special so you won't need to run double primary weapons, amazing for all activities. But if there's unstoppable champions, then you'll want to use a fusion rifle. Your options are Null Composure for Nightfalls, or any fusion rifle with the correct burn modifier for Legend and Master Lost sectors. But a Lorentz driver is also a good option. For your heavy though, if you're using Eriana's Vow, then you'll want to use a good rocket launcher. I'd really only recommend using these in solo lost sectors though, and keep one of each burn, so Void, Solar and Arc, so that you can gain that plus 50% damage modifier of that burn for the related lost sector, as it can insta-kill champions. Now of course, you'll have match game shields to think about, so Eriana's Vow is great against match game shields, especially if Solar is the lost sector burn, but for Master Nightfalls and GMs, you might want to make adjustments with your team to decide who uses what, and perhaps use an energy primary of different elements instead. But if I were using this build in a Legend and Master Lost sector, I'd use a kinetic bow if overloads are present, or an auto rifle if I don't use Eriana's Vow for anti-barriers. Then I'd use an Eriana's Vow or a fusion rifle with the correct match game shields, and then a rocket launcher with the correct element for the 50% burn modifier, or of course a 1000 voices. Now if you're not using fusion rifles, then use Withering Heat as your class mod to weaken champions with your solar abilities, but if you're using fusions, then use Particle Deconstruction, and of course you'll need to adjust these mods for your champions and your gauntlets, which we'll get to shortly. But for the subclass, we are using Middle Tree Well of Radiance, which comes with a healing grenade that you can use to give you and your team an overshield. Great for all types of activities, and it can save you in a lot of situations. The exotic you'll be using is the Phoenix Protocol for Master Nightfalls and GMs, But if you're playing solo, I'd actually recommend using transversive steps for instant reloads when sprinting, as you'd really only use the well for boss DPS rather than ad clearing. But moving into the mods for the helmet, we have shield break charge to become charge light when breaking matching shields, along with our ammo finder mods. Now for the ammo finder mods, if you use an Eriana's Vow, then use a hand cannon ammo finder along with your heavy, but if you're not using Eriana's Vow, run double heavy. For your gauntlets, you'll want supercharge to gain a total of 4 stacks of charger light, which will help our protective light mod later. And with this, you'll want your champion mod or mods, which you will have enough to slot on all that you may need. If you are using fusions and you have unstoppables, remove supercharge for the unstoppable fusions. And if you're using fusions but you don't need unstoppable mods, then instead use a fusion rifle loader if possible. Next for the chest, we have of course Phoenix Protocol, which is an exotic which will give us super energy up to 50% when we get kills and assists while standing in the well. Always a top tier exotic, but with this we do have taken charge to become charge light when picking up those orbs. Again, perfect for Master and Grandmasters, but slot on your ammo reserve mods for your heavy weapon, whichever that will be. If you find that you're struggling to survive, you can swap these out for damage resistant mods if you really need to. But next for the legs, we have Protective Light as our Charger Light mod, and this needs to be slotted into Void Armor. But this will give us significant damage resistance against combatants when our shields are destroyed, consuming all stacks. And with this mod, we do have our Scavenger mod for again our heavy weapon, and again, swap it to fusions if using fusions. Lastly for the class, we have our Overload melee mod, which will stun overloads with our solar melee ability, and stunning them will give us that straight back. So we basically have an infinite source of stunning overloads, although it may be a little difficult to achieve in GMs. But if overloads are right in your face, then this will save you. Now with this mod, you want to have Withering Heat to weaken those champions using solar abilities. But if you're using fusion rifles, then you want to swap this out for Particle Deconstruction, as this will weaken all types of enemies with fusions, and this mod is the current best mod in the game this season for dealing DPS. The stat you'll want to max out is Discipline, so you can keep throwing those healing grenades to your allies and yourself, or use them to weaken enemies depending on what mods you have slotted in. But for your artifact setup, this is what mine looks like. Now overall with this one, it's definitely in my opinion one of the best builds in Destiny 2 this season, and it's always going to be the go-to build for endgame. Of course, there are a lot of different mods and combinations you can use with this build, so you might just want to play around a little to find what suits you best. But the only main requirement for this build to be effective is to have that Well of Radiance with Phoenix Protocol, as well as those seasonal artifact mods. But guys, that is all for this new updated Warlock build using the Phoenix Protocol and Well of Radiance. Next, you guys should check out the playlist as always for more top builds in Destiny 2. But for now, give this one a try and let me know how it performs, and I'll catch you guys very shortly for the next one.